discussions with the public about that being a huge area of our sensitivity. And so you're absolutely right. You have flood zone problems all over this area. But we have other pieces of property that we would be putting in to turn them into wetlands. And we also would be able to enhance the quality of those wetlands. And that's all part of some of the future phases. And it, you know, the cost of doing that, it's not inexpensive. It is really expensive, but it's, you know, that's our orientation. I mean, that's where we came from. So that's in our heart, that's in our soul.
Both, if I may, both floodplain and stormwater are highly regulated in this day and age. And you'll see on our graphics that we're showing placeholders, albeit it's not finally designed, for stormwater mitigation basins, which as well will help attenuate the flood concerns in the area. So in this early stages, we've already considered and have addressed those issues.
I just want to point out to everybody watching on Facebook and in Zoom that we are planning to collect a written Q&A document that will be available at some point in a week or two or three sometime. And that will be something you can all share with your neighbors or whatever who weren't able to be on the public hearing today. So I just want to make people aware that we are going to continue to be pushing out information about this important project.
Yep. Yeah, thank you, Sarah. And I think that, you know, I think we should move along now. I mean, this has been great. We can go on, believe me, I know. But I think what we need to do is make a motion to continue this. And I know we've looked at a couple of different dates, Sarah, for further conversation. It's going to depend on the letters that we get from people and the comments and questions and how quickly we get them to you, Chris and Matt, and are able to get them back to us. You know, so I mean, we could certainly try. I don't think we'll be ready by the 24th for that. I'm looking at the date. Any thoughts on that, board? Or Allison, when it comes to these public hearings?
Well, the July meeting would be, I think if we go to the first July meeting.
The first July meeting.
I think July 8th, Ed, would be better to facilitate. And I think a lot more questions will come in.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, okay.
Well, I just want to remind everybody that, you know, I want to accommodate the town however you want it to be accommodated. And I just want to let you know, in order for me to get through this first phase, getting it shovel ready and getting it ready to take off this international cargo that's coming to you, because it's going to be drawing international cargo from a 180-mile radius. So you got Walmart and you got most of Allentown that's likely going to be coming up here. And as this thing opens, you know, you want to be able to control it. So it's your time, you know.
Well, Chris, under normal circumstances, you know, I mean, these Zoom meetings have just really increased unfortunately, our time frame of these public hearings. We wish we could, you know, not do it this way. But, you know, our hands are tied a little bit on this, but, you know, we're going to move on this. There's no question. We got a lot of good questions that I was looking on Zoom and what we were getting from Facebook. So I think that that'll be very helpful going forward. But I think we've got to. I think we've got to shoot for the 8th, if we can have a motion to do that.
So this is Sarah. I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing on July 8th.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I was going to ask any more discussion, but I knew better, you know. So, all right. Thank you, Chris, 3GI, everyone who made it here, all the public officials. It was just fantastic. Donna, good to see you again in your orange and blue, and everyone else. And we really appreciate your participation in here. It's very important that we get this information out to the public. because there are a lot of people that aren't aware of this, and they will be now. So let's keep the ball rolling.
We thank you for including us, Ed, and we will be interested in hearing more about timelines for phase 1 and phase 2 and any other information that's related to federal funding. I'm glad to hear that the community is weighing in on any questions regarding this. It is really a community effort, and so thank you for including us.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, I want to thank everyone, and I want to move on to item 5 now, which is the Brolex properties. And I think we did have we had a presentation on this. It's been a little while. And this is the property over on Route 92, the Freeman property. Do we need to have, should we have the board have any questions, or should we just go into the public hearing like we did this last time? That seemed to work pretty good. Everybody for that?
So I think the purpose of this is a public hearing regarding a zone change, correct?
Right, yep.
Right. So I would like to waive the reading of the public notice.
Okay. Have a
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then this is a continuation of an open hearing, so we don't have to open the hearing because it's already open, right?
No, I think this is a new one.
Oh, this is the new one. Okay.
This is the new one.
All right.
Back to us, Sarah.
This is the first one. Okay.
Right.
Sorry.
So,
Thank you very much. I'm trying to pay attention. So Brandon, Scott, and Josh, are they all here?
Brandon Jacobson, Brolex Properties.
Okay,
Yeah.
hi.
So we need a motion to open the public hearing, and then we can have our presenters introduce themselves, and then they can give their review of this again for us, okay?
I'll make a motion to open.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, so with that, who wants to get started? We got all of you here, Brandon, Scott, and Josh, right?
Yep. Again, Brandon Jacobson, Brolex Properties. We currently had a meeting with the planning board where they recommended us back to the town board in reference to an R3 zone change. And we submitted some documentation to the town earlier with some supporting documentation that we feel would be relevant to support the R3 zoning. And just making sure, has everybody had a copy of that or reviewed it?
Yes, Ivan. It was on the agenda.
So if you look at the exhibit or the map that we submitted, there's actually 4 communities in proximity to what we're calling Freeman Hollow, Ravine Ridge, Spectrum Way, Homewood Estates, and Calvary Green, which are all zoned R3. And somewhat appears to be part of this property to be zoned R3. I'm not sure if that's accurate or not due to the zoning legend. And again, putting that forward, we feel that the R3 zoning would be, adequate and would work in harmony with the zoning that's around it.
Okay. Anything else you want to point out, Brandon?
No, just that, we feel that it will be a nice use for the property. We've done some due diligence in regards to traffic and things of other nature. I know that's more of a planning board agenda, but we have done our due diligence that, to make sure this project is something that's feasible and will be successful and a great enhancement to the area.
And Tim, I think we did get the report back from the county planning board. Tim, anything you want?
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
Yep.
Yeah, we did, and they didn't have any
they didn't have any specific recommendations or modifications. They have determined that it will have no countywide impact, which that's their function, is to determine whether a project has a countywide impact. They like the normal things that would be required for a site plan approval, which are a SWIP and making sure that the ingress egress is approved by the Department of Transportation, those types of things. The one thing they did look at was they looked at it from going from RA to R5, and the applicant is now asking for R3, which is a less intense zone. My recollection, though, is that in R3, they allow for 2-family houses, and it looks like on your map, these are 4-family houses.
That's my question too, is that specifically in the R3 district, it says you have to have at least 100 feet of frontage and 200 feet of depth. And it just doesn't look like this is really a 2-family unit. It's more of a planned development.
These are actually single-family homes, and that's why we've used the cluster development 278, as did all the other communities around us, to show what we call a traditional, or call it cluster zoning. But these are all individual homeowners. These are not multi-family or 2-family dwellings.
Oh, Sarah, I think you're correct. At the planning board level, if you have the referral from the planning board, they did not address the use of cluster development. They just purely looked at R3 for this parcel at this time.
So if they're single family homes, it could theoretically be R1 with cluster development. I mean, that's what your drawing was that you submitted, was proving how many units you could have, right?
Question.
Well, obviously, R3 allows for some more density than R1 does. And because the look of the community that we're going for, and keeping all the green space for the patrons and surrounding the homeowners, we thought it was the best, or the proper zoning for the property, just because it allows us to still complete the project with, keeping the same amount of green space, if not more.
Yeah, green space down in the floodplain.
Well, floodplain and really up at the upper portion, because again, we just feel that the customer base that we're shooting for, is not looking to have what they would call their own yard or, swimming pools or things of that nature. They're looking to have more maintenance-free living.
So these are two story buildings then, Brandon?
Yes. So I mean, I shouldn't say all. Some will be, some might not be.
If they're not, what would they be? One or?
Just be a single story.
Okay.
Would never exceed 2.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. So what you're saying is you can get, with the R3, you can get more houses on that property than with an R1 because of the frontage and this is more of a cluster development, you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, for us to go into the floodway would be just so expensive, and really, I don't think it's, well, for us, it's not necessary for the project if we can avoid it to go down there. And we just thought it'd be better for the surrounding areas, because we're not, infringing on other property lines, and 2, we can achieve the density that we need up top with the R3, and it just feels like it's the best zone and the best use.
Okay.
So,
and again, we're just trying to stay consistent with all the surrounding real estate.
Yeah. Okay.
The comments we've received so far have been pretty much about traffic. We really haven't received a lot of comments regarding the design of the, of the layout or anything yet. But that's why we're having a public hearing now, is so that neighbors who want to speak up have that opportunity.
Yeah, I think, Sarah, you're right. There was some of the about going west on these, out of these areas, and other where they're trying to get out. Yeah. So there should, and I know they're doing a lot of work right now on 92. I don't know if they're widening it or what they're doing. But that should be a mess for a while.
Well, again, we're, you know, we're trying to shoot for, you know, the empty nester development here. So that, you know, a lot of, again, I don't know, and I'm not a traffic expert, but that's why we try to hire one. And by bringing Gordon in, who's done other studies for us in other communities around the county, he seems to be very highly respected. And we've already taken that proactive approach to try to check some of those boxes. And we did submit that paperwork to, I believe, the planning board and the town board.
Yeah. Yeah, there aren't really many, there's not a lot of property around it. We've got hybrids dividing it along with it. So it doesn't look like it's going to interfere with anyone, you know, as far as property. But
I think that's actually the beauty of it, is that you're still, I mean, more than 2/3 of the property maintains green space.
Right, right. Yeah, I see your point there.
I'm just have a question on, I know that there's like a drop off. How close is that where these houses will be built?
I mean, again, yeah, there's definitely a severe topo change from, I'd call it, if you're looking at the map, 9 through 21. And we won't really, I can't give you the exact, I would call the exact dimensions of that until I really, you know, do a more intense study here. But I would say minimally we would be at least 20 feet from that, call it severe topo change.
So my concern, because of the typography of this parcel, is density. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, I think, you know, but having an engineer on board and making sure that, you know, we can build something that's going to sustain the length of time here is obviously something we want to do as home builders and developers. I mean, you know, we're not just developing it to sell it to somebody else, we're developing it to build it. So, you know, I think that's something that we would always have to keep in mind to make sure that we're providing a structurally sound project.
Allison, are we getting any Facebook questions on this?
So we actually have two. We have one from Zoom. It says, it's from Ellen, and it says, will this Freeman Estates Brolex property project require taking down trees?
Really, if you go on to what we call the upper plateau, there's probably a half a dozen trees that do need to be removed. But a lot of the trees and foliage that border the creek and on the bank we won't be close to and would like to keep them. I think it adds to the integrity and the value of the property. And, you know, and obviously right now there already is a big structure, you know, with some pavement area that's going to have to be removed and, you know, have to repurpose a lot of it. So I would say maybe a half a dozen at the most. The most of foliage and tree area, again, is below in the floodplain or near the banks, where we want to maintain that for privacy for the patrons and keep the character of the property.
Brandon, are those green round, those supposed to be trees there? That's
correct. That would be part of our new planting plan after we've obviously established the development. And
so you'll replace more than what you've taken down, it looks like.
Oh yeah. No, I think we've got something like a dozen that are proposed. Yeah. And also, you know, in these communities, the patrons will have their own landscape beds and things of that nature that they can make, you know, a little more unique to their own taste. Everybody's a little different. You know, we've got to maintain the grass part of the HOA, but we do want to allow the freedom for some of the homeowners. So if they, you know, want certain planting plans, that we can allow the HOA to approve them, and hopefully they can have them. We also have an intention of, you know, maintaining a walking trails that will, hopefully we can talk to Homewood and see if we can connect with some of theirs. But we would like, we've got enough land with almost 20 acres below, no, not 20, but 15, that we'll be able to put some stone dust trails below that the patrons will be able to utilize. And I mean, it's really nice down there, especially this time of year.
All right.
And you said Homewood, did you mean Huntwood?
That's what I meant. Excuse me.
Thank you. Yeah. Homewood.
Thank you.
I was like, wow, that's some connection.
Well, yeah, we're going deep.
That was quite a jump.
Miles.
Yes, yeah.
So I have three questions from Facebook and then a follow-up question on Zoom. TK Kelly asks, would a light be put in the corner of Woodchuck and Highbridge with the increased traffic?
Again, I don't believe so because the traffic study is not warning one. Again, we've only got 25 homeowners or people that will, I mean, you know, we're not quite sure how many people, but say 25 homeowners. And at that point, you know, people leave at random times. I don't think it's, according to the traffic study, it's going to impact a lot of the existing traffic. And also not everybody's, you know, yearly. So some people might be seasonal.
Barb Wilson says these should all be single story if the low maintenance type means senior citizens, and can't they find some dry land to build on? Senior options are seriously needed here, especially single units. If the low maintenance types are rich 45-year-olds, stop this project now. If we need developers, we need low income housing. So
I would not disagree with that comment. And again, us being private developers and this not being a big community, you know, I think that when you're selling a product, you know, opposed for maybe public use, these are private use properties. Most of the square footage is on the first floor. We've done similar communities, some up in Jefferson County, some in others in Onondaga County. When I mean two-story, generally speaking, you might have a bedroom or a bath upstairs, but the majority of the living space is on the first floor just because the potential buyer that we've seen is really what they want. I can appreciate, you know, people, you know, wanting affordable housing for seniors. This just isn't the project or the place that we planned on doing that.
And then
footage. Oh, I'm sorry, Allison. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. Valerie Beecher says, what is the difference between the submitted drawings L1 and L2? Which plan is being used? And where will the walking trails be and how would they access with the severe drop off?
So L1 and L2, I don't know what they mean by that. As far as the walking trails, what we envision is putting some type of, I would call it, you know, sloping stair system to get down to the, I guess we'll call it the floodway area, you know, and then we'll do a stone dust trails that will, you know, be almost circular just to bring you from one side, go closer to the waterway, bring you back up.
Nice.
And again, I think we have to get in more detail with when we establish the HOA and try to see the best way to do it. You know, obviously, I haven't gotten into that much detail with the trails yet.
Well, Brandon, I think that's a tricky response because other properties somewhat similar to this in the town of Manlius, once the project was done, the HOA never came to fruition, and then the HOA it was never turned over, so they didn't have any power or control. I think that it's like we should be able to answer those questions to residents now and not kick that can down the road, because if the can is kicked down the road, then there's nothing that we can do about it, or the people in the community, like there's no way to hold you accountable for that.
I think
process, I'm just curious.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Wouldn't that come under the planning process?
It would, but I can answer the question because I already know the underlying question, and I know we're referring to the Megden Farms.
Yeah.
And I think there's two different things here that, and I'm not sure who asked the question. Who was that again?
Caitlin. It was Caitlin.
Caitlin, I said, well, Caitlin, there's two different types of HOAs. So there's a de minimis HOA and then a full service HOA. And the Megden Farms community, being a de minimis HOA, was really designed for stormwater and green space. This HOA is a full service HOA. So part of the amenity package of this HOA, as well as responsibilities of the HOA, is lawn care, snow removal, stone dust trails. So these things have to be established up front for us when we submit it. It's and again, I appreciate that this came up from the homeowners in Megden, but it's not exactly the same animal. And I'm still happy to, you know, to show more detail to the planning board when we get there about what we'll do with the stone dust trails and the walking paths, because we feel it's a big selling point for the community. So there's no reason for us not to.
I'd like to take a moment to answer Ms. Beecher's question. L1 picture is justifying the cluster development. The actual design that's being planned is the L2, where there's a lot of units close together.
Yeah, okay. I apologize. I understand now.
Our follow-up question in Zoom from Ellen was, these half dozen trees, how big are the trees, trunk diameter and height?
I would have to get back. I know there's one big tree close to the existing house, and I'm not sure the diameter. There's one that sticks out. I know there's some pines closer to the road that I guess you would call the eastern portion that we would try to keep those because I think they provide a nice buffer. I just don't have the existing tree layout in front of me. I've got the site plan.
Okay. So Mike Neshi says, not a big community, question mark. The housing area you're developing or the town is the size of a second-class city. And Barb Wilson has asked, what's the hoped for projected sale price of the units, including maintenance fees?
I would anticipate, again, this is a private road. So there will be some more snow removal responsibilities for the HOA, but I would think we can maintain between $180 and $250 a month for HOA cost. And price point is not 100% determined, but I would think we would be somewhere in the mid 300,000 range and up.
And that appears to be everything that's come in through Zoom and Facebook for the first session of this public hearing.
I have one other question, Brandon. If you,
Yep.
This is Sarah, sorry, I know the boxes are moving.
I got you now. Yep.
I would love if you could forward us the address of a couple of your other projects so we could see how they turned out.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you.
We got one right now that we're just finishing in Clayton, New York, which is in the village of Clayton. Just built 5 townhomes up there. We're starting another 5. And that one's probably the most active and recent because it's still ongoing. We just finished the first 5. So I'd be happy to send you some addresses and pictures if you'd like.
Great, that would be nice.
That'd be great.
Love going up to the river. Happy to check it out.
Sounds like a plan too.
It's tough managing it, I can tell you that. But beautiful spot.
I heard the question asked about the prices on the properties. Was that question answered and I missed it, or?
Go ahead again, Brandon. Give the numbers again.
Yeah, we're not 100% again because of Caitlin. We're not 100% yet where we're going to be in like the total price of every unit because they're going to vary in size. But I would say, you know, it was a relatively expensive piece of property. So I think we'll be starting around 350 and going up from there depending on the sizes of the units.
So certainly not even remotely close to affordable housing for the vast majority of the population. Okay.
No, that was never our intention.
Okay.
Brandon, what is the square footage that you're proposing of the homes?
I would say, you know, starting at around 1,800 square feet and maybe up to the biggest one. You might have a few that are close to 3,000. But, you know, there's some really, really nice lots out of what I would call them envelopes. And then there's some that are not going to be quite as desirable that will back up to 92. So we've got to, you know, have a different price point for the different buyer. But I think I mean, generally, if you look at these units, they're all minimally 30 feet wide, which gives us the ability to do a first floor master, which again, for the person that's maybe living in Manlius that wants to stay in Manlius, but wants first floor living, you can get a nice floor plan with at least a 30-foot wide unit. And some of them are as wide as 40, which, you know, which can be, give you some more space.
And the main house is going to stay intact, or what are your plans?
No, the main house will be removed.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think you did mention that. So this is like empty nesters, right? That's what you might be targeting, and then eventually they'll be going to the cruise ship on land as they get older, right?
I don't know. I don't know how much the communities are excited about that after this COVID thing, but that's out of my hands.
I went there. All right. Anyone else? Or we can. I know we got. As we get more questions, because we'll continue this public hearing as we normally do. Unless there are any, I think we could probably move this one to the next board meeting if everyone's in favor of that. Was that the thought process here? Oh, good. Got a thumbs up by John and Caitlin. All right, so we'll need a motion to continue this public hearing to
Till June 24th?
Thank you.
We're going to continue the pub, or there's no, well, didn't we already?
Is this one old or new?
I mean, we've already reviewed it.
This is new. This is the first day, so yeah.
Say again,
Yeah,
Sarah?
the board meeting, because there's on Zoom, we don't feel confident that because we can't have the public present, that everyone was able to really participate. So we keep the meetings open until our subsequent board meeting to make sure people can submit a letter. Not everyone can, participate in the live stream as easily. So we want to give everyone the opportunity to participate. It does take longer, and for you and for us, but we're committed to being as inclusive as we can of everyone in Manlius.
Yeah, Brandon, it's a different time right now than when we were here last time. We had to do this in every situation. In fact,
Fair enough.
The next one coming up is the second one that we hope to actually close. So we're staying consistent here, and we're trying to keep it that way. So
understood.
Thank you for the presentation again, and a lot of good information. I'm sure as we get more questions, we'll be sending them off to you as well. As we go along.
All right, appreciate everybody's time. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I need a motion for extending the.
So did Karen make that motion?
Yes, I made the motion to extend this public hearing until June 24th.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed and carried. All right, excellent. Okay. Wow, another, we have another one here. Now this is the continuation. This is number 7 we're on now. We had to shift some things around. The public hearing on North Burdick, zone change from RA to RM, residential multiple use. I guess I'd like to start out asking Allison and anyone else, have we received any more feedback since the last public hearing on this?
I have not.
Okay, all right. Okay, and I don't think there's anybody here on Zoom.
Yes.
Okay.
There's Scott.
Scott's on. Hello, everybody.
Oh, no. I meant Zoom questions. It's too early for that.
Oh, let me look here. I believe the last question was, Chris had asked, I believe a traffic study was mentioned. Can this be shared? And I'm not sure which that was in reference to, but I believe it was to the previous.
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay. All right. Yeah. Scott, you want to do a wrap up, or Chris, who wants to do this tonight?
Scott, you want me to, or?
Hey, go ahead, Chris. Thanks.
Okay. Well, we appreciate all the meetings with the town, both at the town board level and the planning board level. We feel that it's been an intensive review from both a zone change and a planning perspective. And we feel like we've covered hopefully all the concerns and the issues raised by both the planning board, town board, and the residents of the town. And we can appreciate those concerns, and hopefully we've alleviated those concerns. We feel that this is a beneficial project for the town in the location it is. We feel that it preserves the canal corridor by presenting a green space area, and we'll get more detail into that in the site plan. But also it provides what the zone we're seeking, which is a transition from a residential area in Erie Village to a more intensive commercial use as you get down into town center. And we feel that this is a soft buffer for that and creates that transition in this zone change. And it's our intent to proceed forward if we get this zone change to seek the site plan that we presented to this board. We will bring it to the town or the planning board and hopefully work through any comments or concerns that the town and the planning board has. But we're committed to this project, and we hopefully have the town board's approval for the zone change. And we appreciate your time and your efforts with regard to this project.
Thank you, Chris. I would say that from the beginning, when you first met with us, or actually Scott first initially met with us, it really seemed to, definitely to me anyway, fit that area for RM. And I like the soft transition that you're talking about as you get into, you know, the automobiles and the town center and what have you. You know, so I think you've done a thorough job on this. You've looked at the traffic, you've looked at the green space, you've looked at the canal and trying to eliminate, you know, interfering with that landscape. And I think that's key. I think you've certainly done your homework on this. I guess my question is, we could certainly come out of the public hearing, and then if we wanted more conversation with the board, and then we can, I think, Tim, you have a resolution on this. I'm trying to remember what we have here.
Yeah.
Well, I can make a motion to come out, to close the public hearing.
Okay, that'd be good. Yeah, let's start there.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Excellent. All right. All right. With that, board, any discussion further on this? Tim?
You can have board discussion, but we're going to have to do seeker on this. So.
All right. Well, let's do that.
So does the board want to, well, we can probably have the discussion during the seeker process.
Right.
So it's our responsibility now to determine whether or not this project is going to have a significant environmental impact. It's not project, the zone change. And let's keep that in mind. What we're talking about is the zone change, not the project itself, even though we know what the project's going to be. That project will have a separate State Environmental Quality Review Act review when the planning board, if the planning board gets the site plan project that is being contemplated. Everybody understand that?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to go through, I don't know if Allison can, it's what we did last time. I'm going to go through the questions on part 2 of the long environmental assessment form that the applicant has done. And I'm going to read the question, and there's a lot of them, so we'll try to go through this as quickly as possible. Many of the questions will be no. So the first question is, proposed action may involve construction on or physical alteration of the land surface of the proposed site. In this case, we're talking about a zone change, so no, it will not have a physical alteration or of the land surface or the proposed site.
Right.
Obviously, the site plan will, and that will be a separate environmental assessment.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a no.
So it's a no. Will impact on geological features. The proposed action may result in the modification or destruction of or inhibit access to any unique or unusual landforms on the site. Again, the answer to that is the zone change will not cause any of those, but the site plan will. So the answer to that is no, unless I hear differently. Impacts on surface water. The proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or other surface water bodies, and the answer to that is no. Even the project itself will not. Impact on groundwater. The proposed action may result in a new or additional use of groundwater, or may have a potential to introduce contamination to groundwater and or an aquifer. The zone change would not have any impact on that. Impact on flooding. The proposed action may result in the development of land subject to flooding. Again, the answer to that would be no. Impacts on air. The proposed action may include a state-regulated air emission source. The answer to that is no. Impacts on plants and animals. The proposed action may result in a loss of flora or fauna. Again, the zone change itself will not have on flora or fauna? So the answer to that is no. And if somebody has questions, please step in, please ask me while we're going through this.
I have a question.
Yes.
I don't know if this makes sense, but since because it's on a zone change, but there's not technically a disruption of land,
Right.
like how can we answer, because we don't know what, like, we know what's going in there, but we don't know what's going, it's just a zone.
Planning board does that one.
Yeah, will there be a subsequent seeker of the actual plan itself?
Yes.
Yeah, and this,
By the planning board.
okay.
So this is a philosophical question about how smart this law is that we have to have seeker for this, right?
Okay, that's what it's confusing.
Okay.
Good one. Yeah.
All right, let me go back to that. Impacts on plants. Wait a second.
I think we did that one.
The answer to that one was no.
Where are we?
We're on question number 8, question number 9, but for some reason my screen is frozen, so I can't move it.
Impact on agricultural resources. The proposed action may impact agricultural resources. Yes or no?
No.
No.
I got it, Allison. Thank you.
Okay.
I was looking at yours and I couldn't move yours, but I can see mine.
Okay.
Number 9, impact on aesthetic resources. The land use of the proposed action are obviously different from or in sharp contrast to current land use patterns between the proposed project or a scenic or aesthetic resource. Now this one, a zone change, this one, the answer is probably no, but when we're making a zone change, we have to consider what can go there. We know that a medical office is proposed for this, and would you believe that going from RA to RM is going to have a significant impact on the aesthetic resources of that area or change the character of that area?
I think this is the one where there may be some, yes. Or at least there may be at least a small impact on the canal.
On the canal, okay.
Yeah, possibly.
So we'll say yes to that, and then we'll go through the rest of these questions under 9. Proposed action may be visible from any officially designated federal, state, or local scenic or aesthetic resource. It will be, but it's small to medium.
I think they're trying to make it, well, I guess, yeah. Okay.
My recollection is that there's going to be screening.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The proposed action may result in an obstruction, elimination, or significant screening of one or more officially designated scenic views. The answer to that is no or small. The proposed action may be visible from publicly accessible vantage points. No to small. Year-round, no to small. The situation or activity in which the viewers are engaged while viewing the proposed action is routine travel by residents, including travel to and from work. Again, no to small. Recreational and tourism-based activities. No to small if we're considering whether or not changing this from RA to RM is going to have a significant impact on the type of buildings that can go on there. Houses can go on there right now.
Right.
Proposed action may cause diminishment of the public enjoyment and appreciation of designated aesthetic resource. No to small. There are similar projects visible within the following distance of the proposed project. No to small. And then other impacts. So based on that, I mean, it looks like it's going to be a no or small impact in terms of changing this from RA to CA, so that the people who are walking along the canal might see a larger building than they would have seen if it was an RA. But houses are built big now, so I think the answer is going to be no to small. Does anybody disagree with that?
Well, that makes sense to me. I mean, it's one level anyway.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to 10. Impact on historic and archaeological resources. Going from RA to RM, will it, proposed action may occur in or adjacent to historical or archaeological resources?
No.
Impact on open space and recreation. Proposed action may result in a loss of recreational opportunities or a reduction of an open space resources as designed or designated in an adopted municipal open space plan. We don't have a municipal open space plan at this point, so the answer to that is no. It will not be, it will not affect the critical environmental area. There is no critical environmental area around there. That's a separate designation. We only have one critical environmental area in the town of Manlius. Impact on transportation. Proposed action may result in a change to existing transportation system. No.
No.
Impact on energy. The proposed action may cause an increase in the use of any form of energy. No.
Right.
Impact on noise, odor, and light. The proposed action may result in an increase in noise, odor, or light on outdoor lighting. The answer is no. Impact on human health. The proposed action may have an impact on human health from exposure of new or existing sources of contaminants. No.
No.
Almost done. 17, consistency with community plans. The proposed action is not consistent with the adopted land use plans. Well, this would be an interesting question if we had a land use plan at this point, but we don't have a comprehensive plan. So is this RM out of the community character in this area? The answer is
No.
Probably no, because we have RM right next door.
Right.
Agreed.
Okay. 18, consistency with community character. Again, the proposed actions are consistent with the existing community character. There are medical buildings, but again, we're going from RA to RM. So I think the answer to that is no, based on the last question. Okay, so having answered all of those questions, except for one, no, but even the one we answered yes is going to have a no to small impact. I would recommend, and I don't know, Doug, if you want to chime in here, but I'd recommend a negative declaration under the seeker process.
I concur with that, Tim.
Okay.
Good job.
Make a motion for that?
Yeah, let's make a motion to make ourselves lead agency first.
So I make a motion for the town of Manlius to be lead agency for this unlisted action.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And I'll make a motion to
issue a negative
deliberate,
declaration.
whatever the proper word is, that we deliberate and decided that it was a negative declaration.
Correct. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carried. All right, and now I'll need a motion to approve this zone change.
So I've prepared a resolution in anticipation of this. I hope all of you have had an opportunity to read the resolution, and if you're in agreement with the resolution, then we could just pass it as it's been written by the town attorney.
Does anyone have any amendments to the resolution?
No. Everything, anyone? Any questions on it?
So I would make a motion to adopt the resolution as presented by the town attorney.
I'll second that motion. I think this would be a great area for this change.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, carried. All right, very good. Thank you, board. That's a long process. Scott, Chris, thanks for hanging in there for this length of time. It's this is one of our, a long one, but we got through it. I want to thank the board for all of your input and your comments, and it's been very fruitful and it's a good, great educational process that we've been going through these last 6 months, isn't it? Under these circumstances. So I want to thank the board, and I want to thank you, for all of your work you've done on this, Scott, and all right, Chris, and everybody who's here today. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks everybody for your help. Greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, so let me see, we can move. Oh, hey, guess what? We get to set another public hearing. All right, so number 8, this is on the, this is, that's right. This is the special permit, correct?
The local law for the
local law, the special permits to the planning board. Sarah, you were a big part.
Yes, so I would like to introduce the local law to delegate the ability to grant special permits to the planning board. Yep. With a, so to set the date for the public hearing and then for next meeting, which would be 6/24.
The 24th.
Yep, okay. So we need
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye. That'll be good.
Carrie.
Everybody
6:35 p.m.
Go ahead.
Unless there's an, I think there might be another one already on. We moved somebody's second half.
That's fine as long as we don't start the new public hearing prior to the time that's listed. So I'll put 6:35 on the motion.
Thank you. Yep, the time and we forgot that. Okay.
If anybody has any questions about the resolution or the local law, please contact me. Let me know if there's any changes or any modifications or any questions as it's drafted. But it's relatively simple in the sense that it just changes the authority from the town board to the planning board.
Excellent. Thank you, Tim. Item 9, we're looking at, we got a request, and I think we've had this before, a speed reduction request, 55 to 35 on East Seneca Turnpike, half-mile from Sweet Road towards the Village of Manlius to match the existing 35 mph. I know, Rob, you've looked at this. Allison, we're looking at doing the normal, what's the T something form that we need to send in?
Typically, what we do is we don't have any control over, obviously, speeds within the town of Manlius. So we have to directly take the concerns of the residents to the state and pass on their letter through a form. Typically, we normally go through the town board and we ask the town board's permission to send in the TE9. In this case, I think we kind of, just because the process can be rather lengthy, I know they're about a year behind on some of these traffic studies that they're doing. So I believe Allison, as usual, is ahead of the game. So I think she's already got the paperwork pretty much set in here. So I guess this is a formality at this point. So hopefully we can, get it on record here that the board recommended that we send the TE9 form. So we'll need that motion.
Sounds good, Rob. Everyone familiar with that area, I think?
Yes.
All right, so we'll need a motion for that. We're looking at the next board meeting. I mean, it shouldn't be. Well, no, this is just, I'm sorry, we're just sending in the TE9. I'm so, too many.
We don't have to set an actual public hearing then, right?
No.
Just need a motion to send the TE9, guys.
So
we all have.
I'm sorry. So we need a motion to send the TE9 form in.
I'll make a motion.
John has a question. John Deere is trying desperately to say something.
You're good.
Are you good?
All right, we need a second.
Okay, I'll second it. Karen started it.
Yep.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and carried. You know what I was doing? I jumped down to the no parking signs. That's what happened. I apologize. Which is number 10. Sorry, Heather, another public hearing. This shouldn't take long. I mean, this might be one we can do in one night, but I don't know for sure. You never know.
Well, I do know that there's some residents who aren't able to attend tonight. So if it's possible for us to schedule the second part of the public hearing, the continuation earlier in the meeting, next time on the 24th, that might be helpful to the residents who are trying to make sure they speak. But I could summarize when we do open the public hearing. I'd be happy to To summarize.
Heather, we're setting a date for the public hearing tonight.
We're just setting the date tonight.
Oh, I thought we were opening it up for the first time. Oh no, we're setting the date. Okay.
I was saying, Heather, hopefully when we open it at the next meeting.
Okay. I would suggest, yeah.
I don't think we can, you know. So.
Yeah, I make a motion to set a public hearing for the Hale Road no parking signs for June 24th, our next meeting.
6:40.
At
6:40 p.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and carried. All right. And again, we covered I think we covered this at the last meeting anyway, didn't we, Rob? About the stop signs up there?
Yeah, I think so. And obviously, you know, you met up there with Heather and I.
Yep.
Some of the concerns from the residents up there. There's not a lot of residents up there, but I think we've heard from most of them, actually from most of the residents up there. So shouldn't be a long meeting, I wouldn't think.
Good. All right. Very good. All right. So next, we're moving right along now. Zooming here. Here we go. A tree commission co-chair appointment.
I can talk about that if you'd like, Ed.
Yes, please do. Thank you.
Since we're recommending to appoint Councilor Waters, I don't know if she wanted to introduce it, but we did have Mary Ellen Letterman had resigned from the Tree Commission. And I have spent some time helping with the Tree Commission and acting as secretary, and that commission itself is really becoming active and doing a lot of things. And one of the things that I noticed was that I think it would be good to have the second co-chair be a member of the board who can facilitate the meetings and to also kind of represent the Tree Commission at the board level. So I had presented this idea to Ed and talked to Heather, and then obviously to Stephanie Freshy, the other co-chair, about this. And I checked with legal, and Tim said that it was okay, checking the Tree Commission bylaws. And so, you know, it was kind of, and I'll speak on the behalf of Stephanie as well, as she's not in attendance tonight, but she was very excited about this and in favor of this. And so that's where this idea was born from.
So we will need to make the appointment tonight, co-chair. Is that what we're doing?
Mm-hmm. A motion to appoint Councilor Waters as co-chair of the Tree Commission.
Because we're good with Stephanie, so she's...
Mm-hmm. Yep, they'll work together.
Heather, would you like to give any speech before we...
I will say a couple of brief things. I'd just say that thank you so much. You know, Allison shared that the town board sees the important role that the Tree Commission plays in upholding our commitments to comprehensive planning. And also, you know, the fact that we want to stay a tree city and stay certified in that regard. But I think it's great to, I really look forward to an opportunity to, you know, formalize this, because I think that having a counselor co-chair ensures that the commission has constituent leadership and elected leadership in place and can facilitate the budget process, you know, the overall relationship with town hall as things pick up, because Allison does so much as secretary right now. So I don't want to put as much on her plate. And I think that it's going to be fantastic, and I really look forward to working with everyone in our wonderful membership to promote and protect our trees and recognize all the ways that they enrich our community, our climate, and our lives.
Oh, excellent. Come on, everybody. Very good, Heather. All right, so we need a motion to appoint Heather Waters as our co-chair for the Tree.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Councilor Heather Waters to be co-chair of the Tree Commission.
Is there a term on that, Heather? I mean, you may have this your entire life.
Thank you so much for asking. I don't know.
It's just, well, Mary Ellen retired, so, you know.
Yes,
it would be to fill the remainder.
Yeah.
Just so you know, Heather.
So
I'll second the motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm going to abstain.
Yeah, okay. I thought it was okay to vote for yourself. All right. Now we'll move on to correspondence and new business. Rob, do you have anything for us tonight?
And just one quick thing, I did talk to Sarah the other day. We did receive confirmation from the state DOT on our CHIPS funding. As you guys know, there's been hold up on any of the funding coming out. As of right now, the town has received our normal funding from the CHIPS and from winter recovery and from the Pave New York programs.
Yep.
The caveat is, and it's in the reading of the paperwork, that we can expect up to a 20% decrease in the combination of those three funds over the course of the summer here, probably up until around October. So I guess at this point, from my perspective, we probably won't spend all of that money in that CHIPS fund until get later in the season here. So
Yeah.
we've got a number figure here of what we're looking at to keep within that 80%. Now I had a meeting this morning with the state association and the county association. The state association and our lobbyists feel that they're very comfortable with that 20% decrease, but they don't think they're going to see that much. They don't feel that we're going to have a 20% decrease, but they think that's a fair number, I guess, to work around. So I think the concern is that there was a lot of municipalities holding off on spending or doing any projects this year because they didn't know what kind of funding they were going to get. So this at least opens the door up. Obviously, we've already started our paving season. As a matter of fact, as I told Sarah the other day, we'll probably be turning around here probably within the next 2 weeks and asking for our refund for our CHIPS funding. So hopefully, we're ahead of the game as usual, I hope. But it's going to be kind of a paperwork nightmare because I think everyone's going to be trying to do the same thing. So I just wanted to keep the board informed on where we are with that.
Okay, thank you, Red. Randy, do you have anything for us? You're on mute, just to let you know. There you go.
Things are starting to move very quickly. We're getting inundated with permits, which we expected to happen once the floodgates opened on it. So I'll be out in the field a lot, and Lisa and Tina and Debbie will take care of the office as they normally do.
Excellent.
Things are going well.
Yeah, I can.
Good, Randy.
That's for sure. All right. Doug, do you have anything? We're in that neighborhood there that you have to share with us tonight?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. That was quick. Tim?
I'm good. I don't have anything for tonight.
Nothing for tonight. Allison?
Just wanted to say that we are on track for a quick meeting, and I'm very proud of everyone. It's not quick. I shouldn't say that, but it's not 4 hours. So, okay. I do have a special permit renewal for Linden Golf Course. Everyone's familiar with Linden Golf Course. It has been reviewed by the Office of Planning and Development. They find everything to be in order and recommend approval. All of the proper paperwork is submitted, and Attorney Fortesky has prepared a resolution. And so I am looking for the resolution to be adopted, which will extend the special permit for a 7-year period.
Allison, I'll be happy to make a motion to the resolution to extend the special permit for the Linden Golf Course. It's nice to see it in use.
I need a second.
I'll second Sarah.
Oh, okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, great. Anything else, Allison?
No.
Okay. Keith, do you have anything for us tonight?
Yeah, the only thing I have is many of our police officers are hurting really bad right now, and we're doing everything we can to give them some EAP services in case they need to talk to somebody about what's going on. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Chief. And Ann, I think you have a couple items, do you, for us tonight?
Yes, just a couple of quick ones. I believe before you should have a memo from the police department. It's for a budget transfer. The police department applied for and received a grant for load-bearing vests. So we would need to, match that grant. The total cost was $5,600, and the grant pays 27% of that. So we would need to have a budget transfer from the 3120-100 line to the 3120-400 line in order to match the grant and complete the payment.
And that amount, what was you say what was the amount for transferring?
The total cost was $5,600, but the grant or the budget transfer would be $4,050.
Great. Okay. So
Mr. Supervisor, I'll make a motion to reallocate $4,050 from the personnel budget line to the contractual in order to match and complete the purchase of the vests.
Elaine, you have a question? Or
oh, I was going to second.
Second it. Okay, very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Very good. Anything else, Ann?
Yes, the second, I believe you also have, I sent an email regarding a new bank account that we would like to create for currency, or we call it the currency property for the police department. This is for cash on hand in the police department, whether that is, it's assets that are acquired through a seizure. So we would need to set that up in a trust and agency account because those are not funds of the town of Manlius. It's purely a custodial capacity. They would be moved at some point to either the district attorney's office, the lawful owner, or the police asset forfeiture account. But we do need a motion to authorize the supervisor and deputy supervisor to sign the signature cards before we can have that account created with M&T Bank.
Very good. Any conversation? Sarah, you had something that you mentioned. Are we good with understanding that? Go ahead.
Yes. I just wanted to clarify the language in there where it mentions town treasurer. We will adjust that to town manager and or CPA for the town.
Yep. Good. Good. Yeah, because that was just the normal verbiage that came with it, right? Okay. Good. All right. Very good. All right. So we'll need a motion to set that up. Correct?
I'll make a motion to authorize the supervisor and deputy supervisor to sign the signature cards for the new currency property account.
I'm happy to second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and carried. Very good. Anything else, Ann? Okay, yeah, we already, okay, that's, okay, all right. All right, so we will move on to town board. There we are, found you. All right, let's go alphabetically like we did here. So we'll start with, why don't we start with Sarah, if you want to get things started for us?
Can we go backwards alphabetically? I'll be brief.
I get the feel, I feel your pain, Heather. Yeah.
I was Allison for so long, and now I have a W.
Yeah, my wife was an Adson.
And I did the reverse because I was Wall and then switched to Bollinger. So I've been at both ends.
Oh, all right. Well, we can jump around, but go ahead, Sarah. We'll go around the other way anyway. So go ahead, Sarah.
So anyway, I am actually, I guess I'm unprepared. I have nothing to report tonight.
Oh, all right. See, Heather, that was easy. All right. And John, do you have something for us this evening?
Yeah, I just wanted to recognize Layla Abdul Malak, who organized the protest that happened in at the Swan Pond Amphitheater over the weekend. I also wanted to extend a thank you to Chief Crowell for ensuring and working with Layla. In speaking with both of them, they both admitted that they had never organized an event like this before, and I was just very happy that we all were able to work together for a really productive event. We had a lot of folks there, some really important conversation, and I just wanted to say thank you both to Layla and to the Chief for putting in, I know, a lot of work to make sure that it was safe and productive. So that's all I have.
And Mayor Worrell commented on it last night at his board meeting, and he was very pleased and impressed with how many people were there. He said 400 to 500, and that everyone was very civil, and it was an excellent. There's some young high school kids, I guess, that gave some tremendous talks, you know, that he spoke of. So it sounds like it went well. So thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Elaine, do you have something for us this evening?
I was actually going to repeat basically what John just said. So I do want to extend a thank you to the Manlius PD. They did a great job, and the students did a fantastic job as well.
Very good. Thank you. Karen?
No, I think I'm all set tonight, Mr. Supervisor. Thank you.
Very good. Caitlin, you're up.
So thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I'd like to extend my appreciation to Mayor Worrell for hosting the event on Sunday. He spoke at the beginning of the rally and stayed for the whole time to listen to what everyone had to say. And I really appreciated that he was willing to participate and to listen to all of the different viewpoints of the people that attended. I thought that it was a really profound event. And I was very, I felt very honored to be able to participate. And I'd also like to thank Chief Crowell for joining and for being there, and also for listening. I think it's an important conversation for all of us to be having with ourselves and with each other, and most importantly, with the members of our community who are hurting. And those are people of color, which do include my two daughters. My daughters are in fact Black. So they were present, and I think it made them feel more welcome to see so many people showing their appreciation for and respect for Black lives in our community. So thank you all that came and participated. I thought it was a great event. I also have a resolution that I'd like to put before my colleagues of the town board this evening. And if I may just take a moment to, instead of being just a town councilor, to also be a person. This is going to be difficult for me to read, but I am going to do my very best without crying, which I feel like I have failed at already. So I've already started. Okay, so if you'll bear with me, I would really appreciate that. I am proud to read this resolution, the Manlius Town Board resolution condemning the murder of Mr. George Floyd in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Whereas we, along with the entire country, were horrified to watch Minneapolis resident George Floyd arrested and subdued, suffocated to death under the knee of a Minneapolis police officer while he cried out for help. And whereas we are equally horrified by the knowledge that this was not an isolated incident in our country, and that Mr. Floyd joins a painfully long list of people of color who have been killed by police violence across our nation. And whereas residents of the town of Manlius and Central New York have been devastated by this unnecessary loss of life, and in their pain and grief have come together to engage in peaceful protests and to exercise their First Amendment rights to speak out against racism and violence everywhere. And whereas we recognize that the incidents described above do not represent the values of the Manlius Police Department, its officers or leadership, but do sadly tarnish the image of law enforcement officers everywhere. And whereas we recognize that most police officers, including all of those in the Manlius Police Department, reject acts of violence, police brutality, and the excessive use of force as a violation of the laws and constitutional rights which they have sworn to uphold. And whereas the Central New York Association of Chiefs of Police an organization comprised of law enforcement executives and professionals from 11 counties within Central New York, condemned the actions of the former Minneapolis police officer involved in the tragic and senseless death of Mr. George Floyd. Whereas the killings of Mr. George Floyd, Ms. Breonna Taylor, Mr. Ahmaud Arbery, Mr. Trayvon Martin, Mr. Michael Brown, Ms. Sandra Bland, and other people of color has traumatized the residents of our town, county, and state, and particularly our young people of color, and has threatened the health, mental health, and safety of our communities. And whereas, as public servants and representatives of the town of Manlius, the Manlius Town Board has a moral obligation to unite and heal our community by protecting the civil rights and liberties of all people and speaking out against violence and racism wherever it is found. And whereas, as public servants and representatives of the town of Manlius, the Manlius Town Board has a responsibility to cultivate a sense of community that is intentionally inclusive of all people of color, where diversity is celebrated. And whereas the town of Manlius seeks to become a more diverse community where people of all races feel a sense of belonging. And whereas now, therefore it be it resolved that the Manlius Town Board recognizes this somber moment in our history and condemns the murder of George Floyd, as well as all acts of police brutality, racial profiling, and the excessive use of force by police officers. And be it resolved that the town clerk is hereby directed to send this resolution to the state legislators representing the town of Manlius and to the governor of the state of New York.
Thank you for getting through that, Caitlin. I know that was not easy. I know that we've had discussions about this, and this is definitely something that needs to be recognized, not only in the town of Manlius, but in all of the United States of America. And it's good to see we're on the forefront of expressing our concerns for an individual who certainly did not deserve what had happened to him. With that, I don't have any questions or comments on this. I think it was well written. I know a couple of things I was thinking about, but you and I talked about them, and they're minor changes I was looking at that I don't think are necessary. And you know, so I'm fine with this. And if anyone has any other discussions, we would have a motion to accept this resolution.
I would like to make a motion to adopt the resolution to support Black Lives.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And carried. Very good. Thank you. Nice job.
Thank you, everybody.
Anything else?
Supervisor, I do actually remember what I was supposed to say earlier.
Oh, okay, sir. Sure.
I would like to just let people know that an event is being planned this coming Sunday, the 14th, called Facing Racism, that will be in Beard Park at 2 p.m. Details will be on Facebook. It's coming together very well, but it's not entirely finalized, but it will be finalized tomorrow. So
yeah, that's something you have to just work out with the village, right? As far
yes, and Mayor Olson will be there and will say some words.
Oh, okay, good. Good.
I do know that, thank you, Sarah, for bringing that up. I meant to do that, but I forgot. But I know that John, Sarah, Elaine, Heather, and I are all planning on attending, and we would very much love to have Supervisor and Karen. We would really like to have you there, and the rest of you. It's going to be a great opportunity for all of us to listen to members of our community and experts on this issue about how we can grow as individuals and as a community And I think it would be really wonderful for some of the people that feel disenfranchised, that they could see all of us there showing support for them. So please, please join us. We would love to just have everyone come.
Okay. All right, and you're not last though, Caitlin. Heather is now. Actually, I'm last, so go ahead, Heather. What do you got?
Well, I just want to say, Mr. Supervisor, too, our heart goes out to our own police department. I know they are taking all this personally. This is a very rough time. I have a lot of relatives in law enforcement, and it is really pulling at their heartstrings. And we in the town of Manlius have been so fortunate for so many years that, you know, our police force has the accreditation, we're constantly training. But we always look at things, at how we can be different. And I think the community is coming together. And I want to thank our town of Manlius Police Department for everything they do for all of us, the lives they have saved, and for being such great representatives of our town.
Thank you, Karen, for mentioning that. That is so important. There are so many great officers that that carry out their roles with honor and with dignity and with respect for all human life. I do think that all of us have room to grow, and I think that our police department, while I would argue one of the most stellar in the community, that there's always room for improvement, and that there certainly have been problems in the past, and you'll hear that if you come on Sunday, that some of the people have felt that they weren't treated as fairly as perhaps they could have. So I think that the officers are good, and that we have at our core a very strong, good police department. I completely agree with you that there's always that willingness to hear other perspectives and to grow and learn. And so I look forward to working with our police department in doing that and in growing and getting better as time goes on.
Thank you. Right. Heather, you're up.
Okay, I have two things. I have to ask a procedural question. I have the letter that Sharon Dodger wrote to us, and Sharon has been listening the entire meeting. And while I was going to include highlights from her note that she sent as a constituent of the town, I wanted to ask to give permission for her to speak herself. And we could give it a time limit if that would be acceptable. And then the second thing is just to raise and give a preview of a resolution that will be presented at the next. It will be on the next agenda, I hope, or make a motion to have it added to the next agenda. Oh, I don't think we have to have a motion for that, but that we could just to give a preview to the community.
Well, are you referencing her email to all of us?
Yes.
Okay. I would like you to read that, and then I think that would be just as good. I mean, I know I've talked to the chief about this, and you know, and he's explained some of the questions about the military grade gear and so on that's passed down from the military, and he could certainly address that. But I would, and nothing against Sharon, of course, but it would be just as easy if you could, Heather, and then it would be in the minutes anyway.
Well, respectfully, sir, I would say that I think that because she's been on since 6:30, it would be, and I don't think she actually wants to cover her entire letter. I asked whether she wanted me to read it in, or if she'd like to speak, if I could ask for permission for that. And she said she'd prefer to speak. If you wanted to give her just 2 minutes, I'm sure that.
All right, yeah, that, how do we, can you make that connection for her?
I think that if she's on there, Allison can activate her audio. Is that correct, Allison?
I can do that. I will do that now.
Okay, great. And Sharon can introduce herself, I'm sure.
All right. So there.
Thank you, Councilor Waters, and thank you to Town Board for the time. I want to appreciate all the work that you're doing as a board to care for our community, listening to all the work that you're doing to evaluate these projects. Makes it evident how much you're paying attention. And I wrote the letter I did because I'm looking for information about how our town is working, especially as it relates to policing, and not because I am wanting in any way to disparage the police department, but I don't have any understanding about what our what materials our police department has access to, how they're put into use, and frankly, whether or not they stay here in Manlius or go anywhere else. And I'd like to know that information so that I can appropriately follow up with the board about my wishes as a citizen. Regarding housing, I'm really glad to see how careful you're being about zoning. And I'm glad to hear about all the impact statements. And one of the things I really like about living in Manlius is living among our trees. I would like to suggest that as a town, we become as purposeful about housing opportunities for people of low income and for people of color who are not necessarily in the same group, as we are about taking care of our trees. I think that would be awesome. And lastly, I would really like to see the town board openly study and evaluate consolidation of schools within the town of Manlius. We are too small and too resource intensive, and it's preventing schools from being as nimble as they need to be able to respond appropriately to current challenges. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Sharon. I really appreciate your thoughts. If I could have waved a magic wand on day one and done pretty much everything you've listed here, it is frustrating that these things take so long, but all of those things we are mindful of. I would say with the school district piece is probably the only thing you mentioned that I'm not as well versed on, but would certainly be willing to look at that. But as we undergo our comprehensive planning process, one of my top priorities, and I think I could say the same for some of my colleagues, will be to evaluate how we can be more inclusive in our housing, both for low to moderate income individuals as well as the communities of color, as there is a great lack of diversity in our community. So those things can be done intentionally with local policy, and we will be hearing from some of the experts on that on Sunday. So hopefully you're able to come and hear what they have to say, because we'll be learning together. I think all of us, I can speak for myself, I'll be learning from them. But these are all things that we will be evaluating soon, and certainly within the next 18 months as we undergo the start of the comprehensive planning process. Thank you so much for coming and for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Sharon. I really appreciate both your letter and also the time you gave us tonight, and for staying with us the whole meeting. That was, thank you. I mean, it takes a certain kind of stamina. I also want to, my final thing, just because we're just really doing big idea things here, I would like to introduce a resolution that will be coming, or give you the heads up that we've got a resolution that we're drafting to recognize Pride Month in the town of Manlius. And here's my quick intro to you. LGBTQIA people have always lived in the suburbs, but discrimination often meant that most openly gay men and lesbians in the 1940s and the 1950s had few options other than to live in older cities. The US government helped to define the suburbs after World War II. Officials at the Federal Housing and Veterans Administrations pushed banks to give mortgages to married men with children and forbade them to lend to Americans they perceived as representative of sexual deviance. And the 1944 GI Bill was the first law in US history to specifically exclude gay people from federal benefits, including mortgage assistance. In the 2 decades after World War II, urban centers in the US attracted sizable LGBTQ communities, and this divide between city and the suburbs started to break down in the 70s and 80s. Government officials also prohibited discrimination in lending to unmarried people. In 1970, the number of Americans living in suburbs exceeded the number in central cities for the first time. Openly gay and transgender residents were a part of this new suburban diversity. The town of Manlius has not publicly addressed these facts within its own history, and I hope we can aim to do so with the discussion and hopefully adoption of the resolution. And along with the resolution, and as part of it, we would be seeking to recognize June as Pride Month and raise the Philadelphia Pride flag, or the Progress flag, Pride flag. You have options, but the Philadelphia Pride flag is the rainbow flag that has both brown and black stripes. It's more inclusive, and especially considering everything we've discussed tonight, the fitting symbol for Pride that the town would represent, and to raise the flag in June and to lower it in the beginning of June and to lower it at the end of June. So to fly it when we can for the days that still might be in June 2020, but to resolve to go forward and have that action in June. So thank you for letting me give a preview, and I appreciate it, especially after a long meeting.
Thank you, Heather. You're working on that resolution, you said, right?
Yes, I sent a draft to Tim, so we need to get it. I'm happy to circulate it around further because I think feedback's important. Also reached out to members of our community, of course, our constituents, and to CNY Pride, SAGE, a lot of the organizations where members of our community are active.
Okay. Thank you so much for that, Heather. That was beautifully read, and I appreciate so much the sentiment. I look forward to voting on your resolution at the next meeting.
Okay, that's it. You're all done, Heather? You good?
All good. Thank you.
I think there's a couple anniversaries tonight. Happy anniversary, Sarah and Supervisor. They're not married to each other.
Sarah, we talked about
best wishes.
Right?
Thank you, Karen.
Yes, thank you.
Congratulations.
We're going to go to dinner when phase 3 opens.
Or the tent under Carrabba's, I'm not sure. So, thank you very much. I really only have one thing tonight that I wanted to bring up that the Village of Manlius brought up at their board meeting. So I wanted you to all be made aware of this. As you know, there's been renovation that's going on over in the village hall, which of course amasses the town police department. It's going to be a 3-month process of which, and I know Mike has shared this, Chief has shared this numerous times over the years or so, that he will need a trailer for he and his officers and command staff. And we put the cost together for this, and we shared it with the village of Manlius. Originally, when we first looked at these numbers, we were looking at around a little over $67,000 for that alone. And in the meantime, we had some stressed conversations, I guess you could say, with the village, and how this was going to be paid for and who's responsible and so on and so forth. I went back in and I reworked some of the numbers on the contract, removed some things after talking with Mike and the vendor providing this trailer and so on, and all the services come along with it. I managed to get it down to a little over $46,000. And the village had already agreed that they would cover 3 months lease over this period of time, and I proposed to them that if they could make it 4 months, that the difference, which was around, I think it was, let me see, it was about 13,000, I think it was, that we would split the cost with them. And we also had a cost of electrical wiring that had to be repaired and replaced and moved up in the ceilings of the Garum group, which we discussed. That was about a $17,000 price for that. We reviewed the lease with them. We talked about, you know, some of this is repair, some of it isn't. This has gone on for years before my time and Paul's time and the chief's time and most of us. How that got that way, we're not sure, but we came to an agreement that we would also split the cost of that. And then there were some final things with some tile that needed replacing. All in all, they agreed to this proposal of picking up another month's lease and splitting the costs. And this is going to be on our share now about $20,000, maybe a little more than that is what we brought it down to. Of which we will be working on the budget process with the department heads in the coming weeks to locate the funds to help cover that. But I just want to say that they were very cooperative. We really worked hard on this, and you know, we are a team together, the two villages and us, and we try to work together the best we can. And this is a perfect example of that type of work that we are capable of doing. So I just wanted everyone to know that. It's been quite the process. And the chief has ordered the trailer, I think, right, Mike? It's just a matter of them getting back to you, I think. So we're getting there, but it's going to be difficult, but they will get it done. So I just wanted to share that with everyone. And really, that is all I have for you tonight, except for maybe a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Very good. Isn't that bad? Not quite a record, but better, right? Thank you everyone, and have a good evening.
Thank you very much.